Hey everyone, Annette here, also known as Grandma D. Today we are doing another segment of the Paradigm Quilt, and I'm anchoring it down on my Singer. And this is the back of the quilt. This is the piano key border that I created in the last video, and it has these 6-inch corner blocks. And I also used strips from the color to make 2 additional borders. This is the khaki, this is the colored strips, and it has the mathematical fabric as a center focal point on the back. That is so pretty. I absolutely love it. And so what I'm doing right now is I've gone all the way around right here, and I've anchored this down, and I'm working my way around this part right here, and then I'm going to anchor these strips down so that I can start removing some pins. And I'm going to turn it over, and then I will start doing more anchoring on the front and some free motion quilting. And we are going to do some of this anchoring together today on the video using my walking foot on my Singer sewing machine. So we are here in front of my sewing machine, in front of my Singer, and I just got it back from the sewing guy. And in a previous video that I have put up, I have done a review and install of my Sew Steady table with my Sew Steady grid liner, and that is what we're using here today on the machine. And this is my walking foot that I have on here right now, and I'm just anchoring on the quilt right now. So because I have these piano key sections here, they were hard to pin down, and I didn't have any glue basting. So since I'm using pins, I thought I went around here, and I'm anchoring around the outer straight edge. Then I'm anchoring my strips, and then I think I'm going to anchor my keys down and go from there to make sure that nothing gets wonky and wiggles around. I just have a standard stitch length here on my Singer, but it's set at a 2.5 stitch length, and that's what I'm using to anchor. And I really like my walking foot. It moves really easily on the fabric, and having this grid glider under here is making a huge difference. And I do wear these gloves when I quilt, because it does help. These are the Machinger quilting, crafting, and sewing gloves. I bought these at my local quilt shop, but they are available on Amazon and other places, and I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you would maybe like to get a pair and try them, because they really do help you to hang on to the fabric when you're sewing, so that it helps so your shoulders don't get so sore and your arms don't get so tired trying to hang on to the fabric. So yesterday I put the back together and got that all done. I finished the last of it up this morning and started quilting, and I wanted to share some of this with you. There's a wide variety of options that you have when you're quilting. You can do free motion, you can just do straight stitching, you can just, what this is called is like quilt stitch in the ditch. because I'm in the ditch here of where the two pieces of fabric meet. This is pretty easy, and it will anchor your quilt down so that if you're pin basting like I did for this quilt, I have these big quilting pins, and you can get them by the package at your local quilt shop or on Amazon. And a lot of people have them. I am also an affiliate with Fat Quarter Shop, and I'm sure they have them as well if you're a fan of Fat Quarter Shop. I'm sure Missouri Star has them as well. And they're nice, even if you're glue basting. The pins are nice just to make sure the edges don't get wonky. I always pin around the edge anyway, even when I glue baste. I got the pins on the other side, so they're kind of catching on the edge of my Sew Steady table because I need to see the back so I can see where to sew, because the front is all the white on the front. This is all the khaki, and so I wouldn't know where my strips were. And you get little strings from your fabric that sometimes I cut off or I pull them out if they'll come out. But I always anchor before I start doing any free motion quilting at all. Just my footrest is moving around down there. I always anchor so that I'm more secure that my fabric isn't going to move around. And I used my whole dining room table with all the leaves in it, so I have lots of room to move my quilt around. And I have a card table set up next to me to my left so that I can have the side space for the quilt as well. I've got it all around the piano key borders, here and here, all the way around is anchored. I have the white anchored, and now I'm going to move on to, and it looks nice on the back. I hope you can see that stitching there, and across here. We're going to move on and do these right here. And like I said, my pins are on the back, so they kind of catch a little bit every now and then, but that's okay. I just move them around. And my throat on my Singer is pretty small, so I have to kind of roll my fabric a little bit sometimes to get it where I want it. But I really love my walking foot. It makes quilting so much easier. And my machine has been running so beautifully since I got it back from the guy, and he gave it a good cleaning. Went through it. Everything looks good. He said everything's working fine. He did do that adjustment on the bobbin because I had a burr on there. Like, my bobbin isn't making any noise. It's not jumping around in there anymore. It's not making any noise. It was pretty loud. It got kind of aggravating. It got kind of loud sometimes. Sometimes it wouldn't make any noise, and other times, oy. I don't know why it would do it sometimes and not others, but when it acted up, it really acted up. Just checking, looking to make sure I'm staying in the ditch, which I am. Whoop, hung up somewhere. There we go. I don't mind quilting with pens. I think they're fine. Because one thing I found that happens with the glue base is it causes a lot of crinkling. Yeah, see, this is one problem that I ran into because it's not glue basted. I'm not totally flat. And I was really working hard this morning trying to get it smooth. I knew I was having a problem. And sometimes I run into little things like this where, because I'm not glue basting, it will give a little bump in the fabric, and I'll just take a pair of scissors or a seam ripper or something, and I kind of just push that down and kind of crease that in there. There. And it helps. And you do have a little crease there, but you got to remember that once you get it all quilted and it goes through the washer and it starts to get crinkly, no one is ever going to see that. It's going to disappear and no one is ever going to see it. I have done that on other quilts and no one ever knew. I gifted them. I mean, if they're going to look that closely, you know, but no quilt is perfect, as they say. It isn't about perfection. It's about the love you put into it when you gift it to someone. And we would love our work to be perfect, but it's probably not going to be. I got another one right there. The one thing I'm careful of is that it doesn't flop over and get on the white, you know what I mean? So that if you have to fold it a little, it stays in the colored area. That's one. Now we're going to do side two. Normally, you would bring your bobbin thread up from the bottom so that they're both at the top and you can hold them when you start sewing so that it doesn't make a ball in the back. But because I'm using my cutter, I don't have that on the back. I'll just have to go through. I'll have little pieces I'll have to cut off when I'm done, because it does leave about a 1/4 inch little piece of string hanging out on the back side. Don't be afraid to try and quilt on your domestic machine. You know, don't be afraid of that. Give it a try. You know, I mean, I have a king that I'm trying to do on this machine, and I think it's going to be all straight line quilting because it's just so big. And I really wanted to do some free motion quilting on it. I might be able to around the edges, like in like maybe 8 or 10 inches in, but it's just so huge and it's so hard to wrangle because of its size. I do not think that I'm going to be able to do much like that. And when I get this quilt done, I'm hoping I'll be able to work on that one a little bit. It's been laying out here in my dining room now for about 2 months while this one was at the doctor, and I was cutting out this quilt and everything. We get a lot going on. Too many projects, too little time. But we'll get there eventually. See, now I got a pin right there. I got to be mindful of where it's at. These gloves really do help a lot. They really do help a lot to keep your fabric straight Makes it easier on your shoulders. And sit on a pillow like I'm sitting on a pillow. You want to make sure that your height is right in front of your machine so that you're comfortable, so that your shoulders aren't scrunched up. That's really important because it's really easy to, if you're not sitting correctly and you're not in the right posture position, your back is going to get really sore and your shoulders are going to hurt. And I don't know where all that thread came from. It must have been on the floor. But you just want to make sure and move your fabric. Don't try to go too far at one time. You're better off going small sections and adjusting your fabric as you go. Now we're going to do side 3. I have a nice box of Aurifil neutrals that I got from Krista Watson's website. She had a sale going. Krista is a really good sewer. If you've not heard of her, you should look her up and see what she has. Krista Watson. And she has a YouTube channel. It's called Krista Quilts. And she has a website. I have several of her books on free motion quilting. I've learned a lot from watching her. She's where I first heard about the Machinger sewing gloves. And some people cut the fingertip off of a couple of the fingers, which helps if you're like threading or pushing buttons, or if you have an interactive screen on your machine that when you touch it, it has to feel your finger. Or if you're using a phone, you know, phones don't always work when you're wearing gloves. So, whoops, bumped the camera. Sorry about that. I'm going to take that pin out right there. I've been able to take out 2 or 3 pins so far. Yay! But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this out and put some more pins in this big section once I get a couple extras, because I've got a lot of my pins in my king size quilt, and so I was really short on pins for this one. I am actually gifting this on Saturday as a gift. It's going to be a wedding gift on Saturday, and by the time you see this video, Saturday will be past. And it's for some friends of mine. They're getting married, and it's going to be a wedding gift. So I took a couple days off of my day job so that I could get this done and get it quilted. And it'll be done by Saturday. Okay. There's side 3 done. Turn it again and we'll do this last side. And we'll move on to some other anchoring. And I think I will anchor down my geese and my squares. I'll anchor those all down so everything stays put. And then, I don't know, some sort of free motion. We'll see. We'll see how much time I have. We'll see. When it gets to be Friday is when it'll be major decision time because it's got to be ready for Saturday. So that's that. And it's really looking nice, really looking nice. I'm really thrilled with it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to be breaking thread a lot, which is fine. I'm okay with that because I want to go down each piano key and anchor each one in place. And that will make a nice sewn border on the other side. So I've already got this done right here because this is my 6-inch square here on the corner. And so I'm going to start here and I'm going to go each one. I'm going to go down, break thread, back up, break thread, and just do that and go all the way around the outer edge because I don't want to have to turn the quilt all the time. That's a lot of turning and twisting that I just don't want to do. So, and I've already got this sewn. So that's what I'm going to do. So we've got this whole side done. We've anchored down every one of the piano keys. You can see there, the quilting there. So I'm going to go ahead and go the rest of the way around, and then we will come back and see what our next move's going to be. So we got the quilt all done. I had unexpected company this weekend, and the quilt had to be done for tomorrow. But I have beautiful photographs here that I'm going to insert in this video to show you of the finished product. And I'm going to turn you around and we'll have a look. So here she is, all done. All the quilting is done. You can see some of the quilting there. And I am going to insert a close-up video of this section here that has some of the quilting in it as well. It turned out just lovely. I'm so thrilled. And the backing is just, the piano keys and everything turned out so good. And I love the piece binding that I made. I think it was a really good choice. It really gives it that little extra pop that it might not have if it had a single color binding. And I hope that you will enjoy the pictures and the close-up video of some of the quilting. I did a couple different types. This is, let's see, this right here, this is like it's a meander, but it's like loop-de-loops. You can see it there. It's like loop-de-loops. And this is like an organic squares. Like I just kind of went wherever the sewing machine took me. Sometimes they got square, sometimes they didn't. And those are like a square-ish meander. And then over here, these are 1-inch lines that I put going this way on these and up and down on these. And so they kind of coordinate with these lines here, which I wound up not doing any extra quilting in there because of where they were landing on the back versus the front, because they were coming down on these. And I thought, no, I'm just going to stick with the lines. And then I just anchored down the piano keys. And on the corners down here, let me see, right here, these are on each corner. It also has the square meander. You can see it there on each corner of where I had my cornerstones with the piano keys. And then these squares here, the outer part of the big paradigm block itself, those have the square meander as well. So it's there on the corners, in the center, and then the loop-de-loops around that for something a little different. So I've got like three different types of quilting: the straight line, the loop-de-loop meander, and the square meander. And I think it's turned out really well. I hope that you'll stay tuned to the end of the video for beautiful still photos. Thanks for watching.